Welcome to Brands Hatch for the final round of the Dunlop Endurance Championship. Now today we're going to sign out the season in style as the drivers pit their wits against one another under the cover of darkness with a special Into the Night race. So a much anticipated 3-hour race awaits. But first, here's a reminder of how we got to this point and the key contenders in each of the classes.
Tockwith Motorsports signalled their arrival as serious title contenders, with victory in the opening round at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Former Ginetta champion Nigel Moore and his 16-year-old co-driver Phil Hansen mastered the wet weather to take the partnership's maiden victory. Technical dramas consigned them to 12th place in round 2 at Snetterton. But there followed 4 straight victories at Donington Park, Thruxton, Croft and Silverstone. The winning streak finally came to an end with accident damage at a wet Alton Park, but they come into the final round on equal terms at the top of the championship table. The class structure in Britcar levels the playing field, and as long as you keep doing well within your own class, you have a shot at the overall title. And that's exactly what Century Motorsport have been doing with their Ginetta G50 this season. Steve Fressel and GT newcomer Jacob Mathiasson have enjoyed a stellar season, taking 4 out of 7 wins in Class 3. They've suffered just 1 DNF, and if they outscore the Audi boys here, they could walk away as champions. Away from the overall title race, the other classes have already been sewn up. Snetterton race winners Mike and Anthony Wilds have an unassailable lead in Class 2 for FF Course Ferrari. Mike Moss Motorsport are once again set to successfully defend their Class 4 mantle with a 3rd production class title. Synchro Motorsport have wrapped up Class 5 with their Honda Civic, and the GT category has gone the way of Chris Murphy and the Whitebridge Motorsport squad with their Aston Martin Vantage. So all of the focus will be on the overall championship, where it's too close to call.
It's gelled really well with you and Phil, and the team has really played their part as well, haven't they? There's been a lot of races where the middle of the race and the pit stop window, you've really made up ground on the others.
Yeah, we've got a really good team behind us. We've done really well all year. Yeah, the pit stops are obviously the key in one way, but not in the other. I mean, like, you get a penalty every time during the race. Obviously, you do well, you get a bigger penalty. We've got 165, 170 second stop this time. So over the course of 2 stops, we're going to lose to at least 2, more like 3 laps compared to the other competitors that are running a 97 second stop window. So yeah, it'll be interesting. There's quite a bit of ground to make up.
Whatever happens today, it's been a great year for you, hasn't it?
Very good year, very good year. Jacob's come over from Denmark and he's been on the pace from the beginning. He's been very quick, very consistent. He's just a fantastic driver. I've had a quite consistent season as well. We haven't had too many offs, and we're loving it. You know, we're just loving it here.
It's a short, sharp lap. I mean, you look at it on paper, there's only a few corners, but it's actually quite a tricky circuit. It's one that most drivers seem to love as well.
Yeah, Graham Hill Bend, it's just one of those ones where you think you can go quicker, but as soon as you go a bit quicker, you end up going too wide. And over this weekend, going through up through to clear ways, just very, very slippery. The front end's been a little bit loose up through there. Druids as well, you know, it's easy to lock up going up the hill into Druids and then go straight on into the gravel.
And how about Paddock Hill Bend? I guess that's the corner that makes or breaks your lap, isn't it?
I'd close my eyes.
The final round has attracted a big entry and some new names, including a pair of Ginettas from BTCC squad Team Hard and Ollie Worthington on debut in the Track Talk Seat.
It's really picked up. We've got a lot of people coming in trying for next year. There's a lot of people who are just using it as a test because at the end of their season's finished, but they've been quite surprised at what we can offer, and they're talking about coming back next year. On a whole, we've had good feedback from everyone that's raced in it and everyone that's come to see us, which is good for the future.
And just tell us about the car that you're driving as well today, the smart car that you're driving, something a little bit different. It's quite powerful, more powerful than perhaps people might think.
Yeah, it's just short of 300 brake horsepower. It can run up to about 350, but they've turned the boost down on it just to sort of keep it. It's a brand new engine in it. A lot of people have been surprised by it. On Friday testing, I was out accelerating the Z4 at the corners because he couldn't get his power down, I could, and I was coming up the inside of it. He'd get me down the straight again, but it was quite good to sort of wave at Ian as I went past him. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic car, and it's to try and show that you don't need to have these expensive cars. You can come and race in Fiestas and Saxos and that sort of thing in the lower classes, but you can still win the championship.
Having already had some nighttime practice earlier in the weekend, the teams now had 50 minutes of qualifying to determine the starting grid. At the beginning of the session, the circuit was still damp in patches and certainly lacking in grip. But undeterred, Nigel Moore was visibly quicker than anyone else in the Tockwith Motorsports Audi. Second fastest in the early stages was the family-run Ginetta G50, driven by Nigel's brother, Ed, making his GT debut. But there was an early safety car when Bonamy Grimes' FF Course Ferrari span coming onto the start-finish straight and glanced to the pit wall. With damage to the suspension, the 458 crabbed slowly back to the pits for repairs. Once the session was back up to speed, the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler climbed at the timesheets, Javier Morcillo posting the second fastest time with a 49.3, albeit still 2 seconds slower than the Audi. Also enjoying the slippery conditions was the impressive Peter Rowbottom, going third quickest with the best time of 52.8 seconds. That was just 1/10 quicker than the Whitebridge Motorsport Aston Martin of Chris Murphy and Matty George, which was up to 4th place. With Edmore's Ginetta slipping to 5th, it was the number 13 Moss Motorsport BMW of Tom Howard, Anna Walewska and Mike Moss that rounded out the top 6, a quarter of the way into the session. Meanwhile, the Aston Martin of Johnny Packer and Dean Gibbs was fastest in Class 3, and with one championship point available for Class Pole, that was bad news for title contenders Century Motorsport. 1 point could make all the difference come the end of the day. But the competition for Class 1 pole was hotting up, as multiple Britcar champion Callum Lockie started to push the FF Course Ferrari and moved up to 2nd place. And the team did an excellent job to get the sister car repaired before the end of the session. Johnny Molam and Bonamy Grimes even breaking into the top 10 in the dying laps. The Team Hard Ginetta G55 of Darren Lewis and Daniel Wiley ended the session as the fastest invitation entry, an excellent 8th place overall. Pipping them to 7th place by just 60 thousandths of a second was the number 57 Moss Motorsport BMW, piloted by Scott Adam, Andy Wilmot and BTCC team boss Sean Hollenby. The team's Class 2 E82 was just half a second quicker in 6th place, whilst crucially for them, Steve Fressel and Jacob Mathiasen were able to regain Class 3 pole and the point that went with it in 5th place overall. The ING Sport BMW Z4 of Ian Lawson and Kevin Clark was also going well, setting the 4th fastest time of the session. The FF Course Ferrari of reigning champions David Mason and Callum Lockie ended the session 3rd. And there was a thrilling climax as Javier Morcillo went fastest of all with a 46.1, just minutes from the end of qualifying. But with a point for Class Pole just as crucial for them as it was for Century Motorsport, Nigel Moore pulled something special out of the hat on the very last lap of the session, a sublime 45.6 to snatch pole position in the Audi. So that's how the top 10 will line up for the final round of the Dunlop Endurance Championship. So the scene is set as the pace car leads the entry onto the second of 2 formation laps here at Brands Hatch. The crowd's gathered overlooking Paddock Hill Bend. And the first car behind the pace car is Javier Morcillo, not the pole sitter, because look, Nigel Moore has gone off at Clareways. Now it's still damp, it's very slippery out there, and the car at the moment is buried in the gravel trap. The championship contenders in real strife here as the rescue team come to try and get them out in time for the start of the race. So a delayed start to the race, and Tockwith Motorsports have really dodged a bullet here, because rather than starting the race behind the safety car, the officials elected to extend the number of formation laps. So they've got the car fired up, it's back in the pits, look, and it's going to start the race from the pit lane, but it will be on the lead lap still as the race gets underway. Terrific start for Callum Lockie in the FF Course Ferrari. Down the inside into Paddock Hill Bend he goes. Morcillo in 2nd place, under attack from the BMW, then running out wide goes Callum Lockie, and back into the lead is the Mosler of Javier Morcillo, the BMW of Kevin Clark, looking at the inside as they climb up towards Druids for the first time in the race. But it's Morcillo back in the lead. Lockie, despite his best efforts, in 2nd place. In the background, I saw Johnny Molam in the FF Course Ferrari, the blue number 5 car, making a good start, taking a very wide line up at Druids, and he's gained 3 or 4 places already in the race as they make their way into the left-hander at 30s, then the right at McLaren, up towards Clearways. Here is the race leader then accelerating out. We know it's slippy up at Clearways, but the Mosler has got good traction here. And there, 3/4 of a lap down, struggling for grip, is the Audi of Nigel Moore. Of course, he hasn't had any time to warm the tyres up, but at least they're on the lead lap, albeit 3/4 of a lap down on this man, Javier Murcia, the Spaniard who leads the race. It's 3 abreast, look, going over the start-finish line in a titanic battle that's already developing in Class 3. Up at Druids, there's the 2nd and 3rd place cars. It's Johnny Molam in 4th place, and look in the background, that's Jacob Mathiasen getting the Class 3 lead back from the number 54, Matty George, Whitebridge, Aston Martin. And there is number 21, that is Dan Kirby in the Team Hard Ginetta, gaining a place on Ed Moore as they went down into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. So good news for Century Motorsport, for Jacob Mathiasen and Steve Pressel. They lead their class. Their title rivals certainly do not, because it's right at the back of the field. But look, Nigel Moore in the Audi. He's already closing in on some of the slower cars. He's about to catch Ollie Worthington in the Track Talk Run Seat. Here's the battle for 2nd place. Kevin Clark is hanging on to the tail of Callum Lockie, but they're already 5 seconds plus behind the race leader. And here's the all-important Class 3 battle. Jacob Mathiasen, number 43, championship contender, still just about fending off Matty George in the Aston Martin. There's Rob Headley in the S2 Smart car, which formerly competed in the Britcar 24 Hours. And up at the hairpin, going out wide there, number 21, that's Dan Kirby. Ed Moore is already back through, and now the sister Team Hard car, the number 34 of Darren Lewis and Daniel Wiley, gets by as well on the run down into Graham Hill Bend. So all the action is in Class 3. There, I'm afraid, number 49, that's Daniel Woodard's Mini in the pits for the time being. And Sean Hollenby's in as well for an unscheduled stop in the Moss Motorsport BMW, but a quick check and it's sent back out. There then is your race leader. It's Javier Murcia as we head for a break. Welcome back to Brands Hatch for the final round of the Dunlop Endurance Championship. And this is the battle for 6th place. The number 7 car of Rob Young and Neil Garnham. The Ferrari is about to be lapped. It gets out of the way. But then battling for 6th place, you've got Tom Howard in the number 13 BMW. Leading Class 3 once again is number 54, Matty George, ahead of Jacob Mathiasen in the Ginetta. So they are out of the Class 3 lead, the championship contenders. That battle is almost a lap behind this car. In 4th place, it's the FF Course Ferrari of Johnny Molan, which leads Class 2. There is Phil Hansen for Topworth Motorsports. There is his teammate Nigel Moore. And the Audi, despite having to start from the pit lane at the back of the field, 20 minutes gone, it's already up to 5th place and flying. The Woodard Mini is back out of the garage and back on track, which is good to see. There's the Mosler that leads the race. There is Callum Lockie, who has been closing the gap. He was 9 seconds back. He's less than 3 seconds back now on Javier Murcia. So 1st and 2nd still within sight of each other as they thunder over the start-finish line. There is the number 34, Darren Lewis, Daniel Wiley, Team Hard Ginetta, which is going well in Class 3. And looking together are 2 key contenders, Matty George from Class 3 lead, and the car which he is battling with, Tom Howard. And we hear there's been some contact out on track between them. There's the number 9 Peter Rowbottom Ferrari, which leads the production cars that will only do 50 minutes of the race. So the Class 3 Aston Martin from Whitebridge is in with damage. They're looking at the front left corner. That is excellent news, of course, for Jacob Mathiasen and Steve Pressel, who are back in the Class 3 lead. They need to win their class realistically to try and win the championship today. There's 57 back out as well. Sean Hollenby now absolutely flying in the Moss Motorsport BMW. There is the number 7 Ferrari of Rob Young and Neil Garnham, their 360 Challenge car, looking for a top 10 finish here and class honours. And there is another newcomer to the entry, number 69. He's going well, 2nd in class at the moment for Dan Stringfellow. There is the car which runs overall at the moment in 3rd place. That is Kevin Clark. His teammate Ian Lawson will get in later in the ING Z4. And look at this, it's almost nose to tail now for 4th place. The Ferrari has been caught by Nigel Moore in the Audi. They're coming up to some traffic as they come out of Clark Curve. Into the pits comes Ed Moore, who went so very well at the start of qualifying in the Ginetta G55. And there is then the key contender, Jacob Mathiasen. He's back into the Class 3 lead. There are quite a few cars in Class 3 this weekend. Not all of them, though, can score points. Some of them are invitation class cars, including this one, Dan Kirby in the Team Hard Ginetta G55. There's Ed Moore getting back into the car now that it's been refueled. The number 20 Tockwith Motorsports Ginetta. One mandatory pit stop for the cars that are just doing 50 minutes of the race, including this, the Smart car, which sees Rob Headley now handing over to Rob Baker. And for those doing the full race, which is most of the field, they'll have 2 mandatory pit stops. Sounds like the G55 has roared back into life. Tockwith get their man back out, Ed Moore, and the engine is fired up on this 300 plus horsepower Smart car, and out for his stint goes Rob Baker. There is the race leader, Javier Morcillo. He had been caught up by the Ferrari of Callum Lockie. The gap was down to less than a second. It's gone back out to 7 seconds because Callum has been tangled up with a back marker. He's had a trip on the grass, so he's got to do all that work again to close the gap, but he's still in second place. Good to see more Ferraris out on the track. That's number 71, Matt Le Breton, WDC Racing Ferrari 458, which looks absolutely glorious. And there is the Tockwith Motorsports Audi. Nigel Moore arrives at Druids. He's up to 4th place. He's got past the Class 2 Ferrari, but 4th in class. As it stands, he's not going to be good enough for the title. There has been a huge shunt on the way into Paddock Hill Bend. Several cars involved. All sorts of debris on the track, so the safety car is out. The marshals are on track. Involved, we understand, number 20, Ed Moore. The BMW of Dan Stringfellow got caught up in it as well. Both of them were on their last lap of their stint. There are the 2 cars. I think the Seat of Ollie Withington wasn't far away, and Callum Lockie was involved in that as well, but got away with it. Into the pits come the championship contenders, Jacob Mattarson and Steve Fressel. The car's already been in once. Steve Fressel has already got into the car, but he has to come back in for a second stop because he can only put 1 dump of fuel in during safety car periods. The operation continues up at Paddock Hill Bend. There is the Ferrari. Now that is going to move up into the lead of the race with David Mason aboard because the Mosler made its pit stop just before the safety car came out, so they're going to lose a lot more time relative to the Ferrari. Meanwhile, the cars doing the 50-minute production race have now finished, and congratulations to Peter Rowbottom in the Environ Ferrari, which has won that category. Steve Fressel is ready to get the Ginetta back out onto the track, and we can hear now from Dan Stringfellow, who's involved in the incident at Paddock Hill.
Just got into the start-finish straight, and the Ferrari 458 GT3 was coming past. I had a Ginetta G55 in front of me with a Seat on the underside of me, and the Ginetta ended up in the wall on the right and then across the track onto the left. To avoid it, I jumped on the brakes and ended up spinning round, and luckily didn't hit anything.
We are back up to racing speed here at Brands Hatch. Happy to report the drivers involved in the incident at Paddock Hill are all okay. And a stop-go penalty for an infringement for the Ginetta of Century Motorsport. That will not help their cause today. So David Mason leads the race now for FF Course in the Ferrari, having pitted before the safety car while all the other front runners took advantage of a safety car pit stop. The Mosler is now 41 seconds behind in second place, but much, much quicker is Manuel Centrano. He, though, is being caught by the Audi, the new third-place Audi of Phil Hansen, which has got past the BMW of Ian Lawson on the restart. While we await the fireworks, let's hear from Callum Lockie.
Traditionally, the Ferrari doesn't heat its tyres up very quickly. So while I got into the lead, I turned into the first corner and it didn't really turn, so I slid wide and the Mosler came back up my inside. But and then I was working very hard to get heat in the tyres. But the advantage comes a little bit later, and as you could see, I caught it right up. But then very nearly got put in the grass by someone and had a little excursion, one of those things, and then had to start it all over again, and then that instant up at Paddock. So it's been a pretty exciting race.
Well, such was his pace that it didn't take Phil Hansen very long at all to get the lead of the race from dead last. The Audi is up to first place. Second is David Mason in the Ferrari. Up to third place and still leading Class 2, it's Bonamy Grimes in the number 5 FF Course Ferrari. Still going really well. That's Ian Lawson in the ING BMW Z4 in fourth place. So where, I hear you ask, is the Mosler? It's down to fifth place and in danger of being lapped because Manuel Centrano had a spin which cost him a lot of time. They're leading Class 3 in sixth place overall. The 34 Team Hard Ginetta of Darren Lewis and Daniel Wiley. Superb debut likewise for number 21, the sister car of Tom Knight and Dan Kirby in seventh place overall and second in Class 3. Doing a terrific job to get back up to 8th place is the Moss Motorsport BMW of Sean Hollenby, Andy Wilmot and Scott Adam, which you'll remember had a quick visit to the pits, an extra pit stop early on in the race. So that one is on a real charge and leading Class 4 for the production category. 9th place, 3rd in Class 3 for Jacob Mathiasen, Steve Fressel and Century Motorsport after their stop-go penalty, but they are still going to pick up the points for the Class 3 win because the 2 Ginettas ahead of them are invitational class cars. In for its second pit stop comes the FF Course Ferrari, the number 5 car of Bonamy Grimes and Johnny Molam, looking to secure the Class 2 victory. But the safety car is out for the second time in the race. Somebody's gone off on the exit to Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, and it's the Mini, the number 49 Davy Birrell Mini, that has gone off and brought out the safety car. We're into the final few laps of what's been an utterly enthralling race here at Brands Hatch. The championship is still to be determined. The race win is still to be determined. The Mosler is back in the lead of the race. The safety car really helped them out. They were able to double fuel in the pits, and Javier Morcillo is back on board. But look, right behind and almost alongside is the Tocqueville Motorsports Audi, having a big go at Druids here. Look at this, the top 2 are together after almost 3 hours of racing. Nigel Moore back in the hot seat. There, meanwhile, is the ING BMW in 3rd place. And there is the number 54 Aston Martin, the Whitebridge Aston Martin. Had problems earlier on, but it's absolutely flying now with Matty George and Chris Murphy. But what about the battle up front? Look at this. The Audi has another look at the inside, this time into McLaren. So what a battle this is going to be for the last couple of laps of the race. The Mosler is the older car. It's 18 years old. It's got no technical gizmos whatsoever. The Audi hasn't got as much straight line speed though, despite being a more modern car. And so the gap opens up as they go to Paddock Hill Bend. Out wide, it's still getting slippery out there in the cold conditions is the Mosler. And back at him on this last lap of the race comes the Audi on the way into Druids. No, he can't find a way through. But as it stands, it might just be enough to hang on to the championship here for Nigel Moore, this 2nd place. The 43 Century Motorsport car is going to win its class in terms of points scored. So I reckon it's going to be dead level on points, and it's going to go down to the most number of wins. Another look at the inside. 1 corner to go. Nigel Moore into clearways. He started the race in the gravel trap here. He had a slice of luck when they didn't start the race straight away, and he was able to stay on the lead lap. But it's been a mighty comeback from this pair, from Phil Hansen and Nigel Moore. But the checkered flag is out, and it's a win for the Mosler. Victory for Manuel Cintrano and Javier Morcillo in the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler. What a fantastic race here at Brands Hatch.
It looked like you two were close, but it was fair, and it was good that you were racing against a good driver. There was good respect out there.
It was the hardest drive I've ever done, I can assure you. In 24 years that I think this weekend is, since I started racing, I don't recall a harder race than this. But it's been fantastic. I'm so proud and so happy to win this. So yeah, fantastic. Clean racing, very close. We touched slightly twice, but totally unwanted by both of us. So couldn't be any better. He was fantastic and he deserved the win. And exactly the same as we did, I think, this time.
It was a great race. We didn't have the best of start. Yeah, hands up, mistakes happen. But, you know, we fought back in the end. And fair play to him in the Mosler. He made it big, it made it wide. And big thank you to Phil. He's come a long way this year. First year in cars, and couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah, I mean, I think all my progress is down to the team and Nigel bringing me on so quickly. You know, having a mentor and another driver that is so quick just helps, you know. So if I can get close to him, I'm pretty much close to anyone.
You two seem to have a really good rapport as well. Is that important, rather than just be 2 quick drivers evenly matched, to have that rapport?
Oh yeah, I don't really like Nigel. No, we get on really, really well, and the good chemistry in the team really helps the way things work.
Bit of banter,
yeah, exactly,
when it's serious, you know, knuckle down and get the job done.
It's a confirmation that Nigel Moore and Phil Hansen are the champions. Steve Fressel and Jacob Mathiasen match them on points, but agonisingly miss out on countback of the most wins. Let's come back and do it all again next year. Bye for now.